There's something strange about human nature. We often don't realize what we have until it's gone. We assume people will always be there, that they'll always answer, that they'll always forgive, that they'll always show up, until one day they don't. The truth is, the ones who hurt you were often too blind to see your worth while you were standing right in front of them. And it's not because you weren't valuable. It's because they weren't ready to recognize value. They mistook your kindness for weakness. They misunderstood your patience as permission. And in their silence, distance, or disrespect, they slowly pushed you away. But here's the turning point. You left. You chose to stop explaining yourself. You chose to stop begging for basic respect. You chose to protect your peace instead of proving your worth. People often fail to realize the true value of what they have until it's no longer there. This is a truth we encounter in many aspects of life, relationships, opportunities, and even the simple moments we take for granted. We live our lives surrounded by things, people, and experiences that at the time we assume will always be present. We assume that we can continue to rely on them without consequence, without acknowledging the unique role they play in our lives. But when they're gone, it's as if a void has opened up, and the absence is so loud it drowns out everything else. This is the nature of human experience. We tend to take the people in our lives for granted. We assume that they'll always be there, because for a long time they have been. And it's easy to become complacent in the familiarity of routine, where the people you love, the friends who support you, and the opportunities you're given seem like constants. And it's not until those constants are pulled away that we realize just how valuable they truly were. As if in their absence, we finally see how much they contributed to our lives, how much they shaped our growth, and how much we relied on their presence. The human mind has a remarkable ability to focus on the immediate, to prioritize what's right in front of us. We get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, and the demands of daily routines, and the tasks we need to accomplish, and the people we see every day. But the problem arises when we start to take these things for granted. It's not that we intentionally ignore their importance. It's simply that we grow accustomed to them being part of our world. We stop cherishing their presence the way we once did, because we assume they'll always be around. We think, I'll spend more time with them later, or I'll appreciate them when I have more time. And before we know it, they're gone, sometimes without warning. This is especially true in relationships. Often, we don't realize the emotional or mental value that another person brings to our lives until they're no longer there. A friend who was always there to listen, a partner who supported us unconditionally, or a colleague who made the workplace a bit brighter. These people become woven into the fabric of our daily lives, but when they leave, for whatever reason, it's like a light has been extinguished. The absence feels overwhelming, and we're left with a sense of longing, of wishing we had valued them more when they were still there. But this isn't just about relationships. This applies to every aspect of our lives. Think about the job that you didn't appreciate until you lost it. The opportunities you passed up because you thought they'd always be available, or the time you didn't invest in yourself until it was almost too late. We often overlook what we have in the moment, assuming that it will always be there, only to realize its true value once it's gone. Now, the lesson here isn't to dwell in regret, but to understand the importance of appreciating what we have in the present. We don't have to wait for something to be taken away to realize how much it means to us. Instead, we can shift our mindset and recognize the value of the people, experiences, and opportunities we encounter daily. We can be more intentional in our gratitude, in our acknowledgement, and in our care for the things that truly matter. When we begin to see things for what they truly are, valuable, fleeting, and irreplaceable, we begin to live more consciously. We stop taking things for granted. We stop assuming that everyone and everything will always be there. Instead, we start to cherish the present, to nurture relationships, and to show appreciation for the opportunities we have because we know how quickly they can disappear. In the end, people may not realize your value until you're gone, but that doesn't mean you should wait for them to appreciate you. It means you should appreciate yourself, recognize your worth, and understand that the value you bring to the world is significant, whether others see it or not. Don't wait for absence to teach you the lesson of value. Start seeing the value in everything you have right now. Hurt often comes from insecurity, not intention. This is one of the most important truths we need to understand about human interactions. We live in a world where pain is inevitable, and too often that pain comes from the words or actions of others. But if we dig deeper, we realize that most of the hurtful things people do are not motivated by malice or ill will. Instead, they are often born from a place of deep insecurity, fear, or unhealed wounds. When someone hurts you, your first instinct might be to assume that they intended to cause you pain, that their actions were premeditated and malicious. You might think they meant to undermine you, to make you feel less than, or to intentionally cause you distress. However, this view fails to recognize the underlying dynamics of human behavior. Most of the time, people don't hurt others because they want it. They do so because they're struggling internally. They act out of their own insecurities, their own fears, and their own unresolved issues. Insecurity is a powerful force. It can manifest in many ways through jealousy, defensiveness, criticism, or even passive-aggressive behavior. At the core of all these reactions is fear, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected. When someone is insecure, they often feel small, unworthy, or incapable of handling the challenges life throws at them. As a result, they lash out at others to protect themselves, to build walls around their vulnerability. Unfortunately, those walls often end up hurting the people closest to them, even though they didn't intend to. Take, for example, the person who constantly criticizes others. On the surface, it might seem like they're trying to put others down to elevate themselves, but if you look closely, their criticism is likely a reflection of their own self-doubt. When someone is insecure, they may try to diminish others to make themselves feel better or to create a sense of control over their environment. It's not that they generally believe they are superior to others. It's that they are terrified of being seen as weak or unimportant. Their criticisms aren't aimed at you. They are a defense mechanism against their own insecurities. Similarly, someone who withdraws or becomes distant when you need them the most may not be intentionally rejecting you. They might be struggling with their own fears of not being good enough, not knowing how to help, or feeling overwhelmed by their own personal challenges. In their fear, they pull away, thinking that distancing themselves will protect them from further vulnerability. The result is that they unintentionally hurt you, but their actions are rooted in the insecurity of not knowing how to handle the situation. Even in more extreme cases, such as betrayal or betrayal of trust, the underlying cause is often insecurity. People who betray others often do so because they feel threatened by something, whether it's competition, comparison, or the fear of losing something important to them. They might not have the emotional tools or maturity to express their feelings honestly, so they resort to actions that cause harm. But at the heart of that betrayal is the fear of inadequacy, of being seen as not enough, or of being left behind. Understanding that hurt often comes from insecurity rather than intention is a crucial step toward empathy. It allows us to separate the person from their actions, to realize that the hurtful things they do are not necessarily a reflection of who they are as individuals. Instead, they are a reflection of what they are going through internally. This understanding doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it helps us approach situations with more compassion and a clearer perspective. When we can see that insecurity, not malice, is often the root cause of pain, we become less reactive to the hurtful actions of others. We stop internalizing their behavior as a personal attack, and instead start to recognize it for what it truly is: a cry for help, an expression of fear, or a result of their own unresolved struggles. This shift in perspective allows us to respond with patience and understanding rather than anger or bitterness. It helps us to recognize that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do in the face of someone's insecurity is to show kindness and compassion. Not because they deserve it, but because we understand that their pain is not ours to carry. In the end, we must remember that hurt often comes not from the intention to harm, but from a place of fear, uncertainty, and insecurity. And when we approach the world with that understanding, we start to see the people around us not as sources of hurt, but as individuals struggling with their own battles, just like we are. Your presence is a gift, not a guarantee. This simple yet profound idea holds a deep truth that many overlook in their everyday interactions. We live in a world where we often assume that people will always be there, that they will always show up, and that their love, support, and commitment are constants. But the reality is that nothing in life is guaranteed, and the presence of the people we hold dear is, in fact, one of the greatest gifts we can experience. In our fast-paced, busy lives, it's easy to take the people around us for granted. We assume that the people who care about us will always be there, and we expect them to be available when we need them. We believe that their time, attention, and energy are endless resources, resources that will never run dry. But this mindset is dangerous. It breeds complacency and a lack of appreciation for the people who show up for us day after day through thick and thin. The truth is, everyone's time and energy are finite. Everyone has their own struggles, their own challenges, and their own commitments. The people who are in our lives, whether they're family, friends, or colleagues, are choosing to be there. Their presence is not something we should take for granted. It is a conscious decision on their part to give us a piece of themselves. Their time, their love, and their support are precious gifts that they are offering, and they do so because they value us. We may not always see it, but their presence is a choice they make day after day. When we start to view the people in our lives as gifts rather than guarantees, it changes the way we show up for them. It shifts our mindset from one of expectation to one of gratitude. Instead of assuming that they will always be there for us, we begin to appreciate the fact that they are there in the first place. We start to recognize their sacrifices, their efforts, and the value they bring to our lives. We stop taking them for granted and start showing up for them in return. The idea that your presence is a gift, not a guarantee, also extends beyond relationships with others. It applies to our own lives as well. Our time on this earth is limited, and every day we wake up is a gift. We don't know how much time we have left, and that uncertainty makes every moment precious. The presence of our own selves in the world is a gift we can give to others, whether through our actions, our words, or simply by being there when we're needed. But just like with others, we can't take our own time for granted. We must recognize that each day is an opportunity to show up, to contribute, and to make a difference. Our presence in the world matters, and we should never forget that. The more we understand that presence is a gift, the more we begin to value the moments we share with others. Whether it's a conversation with a loved one, a quiet moment with a friend, or simply being there for someone during a difficult time, these moments are not to be taken lightly. They are opportunities to connect, to share, and to make a lasting impact. When we approach these moments with the understanding that they are not guaranteed, we begin to show up with a deeper sense of purpose, intention, and gratitude. On the other hand, when we take others for granted, when we assume that their presence is a given, we risk losing them. We risk pushing them away with our neglect, our disregard, or our lack of appreciation. People can only give so much before they begin to feel depleted, unappreciated, or unseen. When we fail to recognize their presence as a gift, we may find ourselves facing the painful reality of their absence. But in that moment, we realize the truth that their presence was never a guarantee. So let's begin to view every relationship, every moment, every interaction as a gift. Let's not wait until someone is gone to appreciate them. Let's not take for granted the time, energy, and love that others freely give us. Instead, let's show up with gratitude, with presence, and with intention. Let's remind ourselves that every person in our life has chosen to be there, and that their presence is a precious, irreplaceable gift. The more we do this, the more we will find that we cherish the people around us, and in turn, they will cherish us in return. Your presence is not a guarantee, and neither is anyone else's. But that's what makes it so special. When we recognize the gift in each moment, we begin to live a life filled with gratitude, connection, and purpose. And that is a life well lived. Absence creates reflection. It's one of the most powerful and often overlooked aspects of human experience. In our fast-paced, always connected world, we rarely pause to consider the profound impact that absence can have on our lives and on the people around us. Whether it's the absence of a person, a situation, or even an opportunity, the space left behind has a unique way of forcing us to reflect, to reassess, and to see things from a different perspective. When someone or something is no longer present in our lives, it can feel like a void. This void may be filled with emotions like sadness, longing, or even frustration, but within that emptiness, there is also the chance for clarity. The absence creates space in our hearts and minds, space that allows us to reflect on what we had, what we lost, and what we can learn from it. It's often in these moments of absence that we realize the true significance of what or who is no longer there. Consider a relationship where someone has stepped away, whether by choice or circumstance. Initially, the absence may feel jarring, unsettling, and painful. You might find yourself thinking about all the times you took their presence for granted, all the moments you didn't fully appreciate. It's in this absence that reflection begins to take root. You start to see things more clearly, things you missed or didn't fully understand when that person was in your life. Maybe you realize that they brought a sense of balance or stability that you hadn't recognized before. Perhaps you see the ways in which their influence shaped you, even when you weren't fully aware of it. The absence forces you to reflect on your own behavior, your role in the relationship, and the things you could have done differently. Absence doesn't only apply to people, though. Think about the absence of a job, a routine, or a familiar environment. When something is removed from your life, you're suddenly left to confront the question, who are you without it? When the structure you relied on is gone, you're forced to look within yourself. You begin to ask deeper questions about your values, your priorities, and your true desires. You may discover that you are more dependent on something external than you realized. The absence of something familiar can serve as a wake-up call, pushing you to redefine who you are and what really matters. The absence of opportunity also creates reflection. When a chance you are waiting for slips through your fingers, it can be disheartening. You may feel regret or frustration over the lost opportunity, but in that space of absence, you have the opportunity to reflect on your actions, your choices, and the way you approached the situation. What led to that missed opportunity? Was there something you could have done differently? What lessons can you learn from this experience that will make you more prepared for the next opportunity that comes your way? Without the absence of the opportunity, you might never have asked yourself these questions. The void forces you to look inward and assess your own growth and readiness. Reflection through absence can be painful, but it is often in pain that we find the greatest growth. Without the quiet, reflective space that absence creates, we may never fully understand the importance of what was once in our lives. Absence forces us to confront our own feelings, our own vulnerabilities, and our own shortcomings. It challenges us to grow, to learn, and to evolve into better versions of ourselves. It is through this process of reflection that we gain insight into our past actions and behaviors, which ultimately shapes our future decisions. Moreover, absence can teach us gratitude. When we experience the absence of something or someone we once took for granted, we learn to appreciate their presence more deeply. It may be after someone leaves our lives that we realize just how much they meant to us, just how much we valued their support or companionship. This realization often sparks a deeper sense of gratitude, not only for that specific person, but for all the people and things we've taken for granted in the past. The absence has a way of reawakening our sense of appreciation. Ultimately, absence is not just about loss. It is about the space it creates for us to grow, to understand, and to find clarity. It teaches us to value what we have while we have it, and it shows us what we truly need. In those moments of quiet reflection, we can learn more about ourselves and the world around us than in any moment of constant presence or activity. Absence is not a void to be feared, but an opportunity for deep reflection, personal growth, and renewed appreciation. It's in the absence that we find the space to rediscover the things that truly matter. You're not meant to chase, you're meant to grow. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with messages of success and achievement, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we need to chase after everything, whether it's success, recognition, love, or validation. We often measure our worth by how much we have, how fast we achieve it, and how others perceive us. This chase can become exhausting, leaving us feeling empty and unsatisfied, always pursuing something just out of reach. Truth is, the real journey is not about chasing external things, it's about growing from within. But you focus solely on the chase, you are constantly looking outside of yourself for validation. Whether you are trying to earn approval from others, gain external success, or fulfill societal expectations, the pursuit is external. You may reach a point where you attain the things you thought would bring you fulfillment, only to find that it's not as satisfying as you imagined. That's because, at its core, the chase is often rooted in the belief that something outside of yourself will complete you, fix you, or make you whole. But true fulfillment comes from within, and no amount of external success or approval will ever fill the internal void unless you've done the work to grow internally first. Growth is the real foundation of long-term success and fulfillment. When you focus on growth rather than chasing, you shift your attention to the internal process, your mindset, your habits, your emotional resilience, and your ability to learn and evolve. Growth is about becoming better, not just in the eyes of others, but in your own eyes. It's about setting goals that align with your values, not just external expectations. It's about cultivating self-awareness, self-compassion, and emotional intelligence. When you commit to growth, you're investing in yourself, not for the sake of impressing others, but for the sake of becoming the person you were meant to be. One of the key aspects of growth is understanding that it's a journey, not a destination. Growth happens in small, consistent steps over time. It's about learning from your mistakes, improving from your setbacks, and becoming more resilient with each challenge. Chasing, on the other hand, often leads to a never-ending cycle of external validation. You may achieve one goal only to find that you're already chasing the next one. The chase can make you feel like you're constantly running, but never truly getting anywhere. Growth, however, gives you the sense of progression. It's not about reaching a certain point, but about evolving continuously, learning from each experience, and becoming more aligned with who you truly are. Moreover, growth allows you to embrace the present moment. When you're focused on chasing, you're often thinking about the future, about what you don't have yet, or what you still need to achieve. This mindset can make you feel like you're constantly missing out on the present. Growth, however, is rooted in the here and now. It encourages you to be mindful of your journey, to appreciate the progress you've made, and to celebrate the small victories along the way, you realize that life is not a race to some distant finish line, but a journey of learning, evolving, and becoming. When you choose to grow, you also empower yourself to make decisions based on your own values and desires rather than the pressures of society or the expectations of others. You stop chasing things that don't truly align with who you are. Instead, you make choices that are in harmony with your purpose, your passions, and your vision for your life. Growth allows you to get clear on what you want, why you want it, and how it fits into your broader life goals. When you stop chasing, you start creating a life that is authentic and meaningful to you. The beauty of focusing on growth is that it brings a sense of peace and fulfillment that chasing can never provide. When you grow, you stop needing to prove anything to anyone. You stop seeking external validation because you find your value in who you are, not what you have or what others think of you. Growth gives you the confidence to stand firm in your own worth, knowing that you are enough just as you are. You realize that the things you chase, whether it's fame, wealth, or approval, are fleeting. But the growth you cultivate within yourself lasts a lifetime. So stop running, stop chasing after things that are outside of your control. Instead, focus on your growth. Invest in becoming the best version of yourself, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Recognize that the more you grow, the more you'll naturally attract the right people, opportunities, and success into your life. You're not meant to chase, you're meant to grow. And when you do, everything else will fall into place. Regret is a teacher, but it comes too late for some. It is a powerful, often painful emotion that arises when we look back at our choices and see that they were not in alignment with our values, desires, or potential. Regret can feel like a heavy weight that pulls us down, reminding us of what we should have done, what we could have done, or what we didn't do at all. It's a reflection of missed opportunities, wrong turns, and unspoken words. Yet, despite its uncomfortable nature, regret can also be one of life's most profound teachers if we allow it to be. The issue, however, is that regret comes too late for some, after the moment has passed, and the opportunity to act has long since gone. When we experience regret, it's often because we realize that we were given a choice and we didn't take it, or we made a decision based on fear, insecurity, or convenience instead of our true values. At the time, it may have seemed easier or safer to follow a certain path to avoid confrontation or to stay in our comfort zones. But when we look back, we see how much of our potential was wasted, how much more we could have achieved, or how differently things might have turned out if we had made different choices. Regret serves as a mirror to our past decisions, showing us where we fell short of the person we hope to become or the life we imagined for ourselves. While regret can be a harsh reminder of our shortcomings, it also has the potential to teach us valuable lessons. Regret encourages us to reflect on our actions, our motivations, and the consequences of our choices. It invites us to ask ourselves, what was I really afraid of? Why did I make that decision? What can I learn from this? When we approach regret with a mindset of growth, it becomes an opportunity for self-awareness and personal evolution. It allows us to understand ourselves better, to recognize patterns in our behavior, and to identify areas where we need to improve. However, the challenge is that regret often comes too late for some people. By the time they experience regret, the window of opportunity has passed and they can't undo the decisions they made. This is especially true in cases where people spend years ignoring their true desires or living inauthentically, only to realize later in life that they've missed out on what truly matters. But within these moments that regret feels most intense, the realization that time has slipped away and the chances that were once available are no longer within reach. Some people, unfortunately, never learn from their regret. They allow it to consume them, to make them feel hopeless or to hold them back from moving forward. Instead of using regret as a catalyst for change, they allow it to become a weight that keeps them stuck in the past, unable to take action in the present. For others, regret sparks a turning point. It propels them to change course, to start taking risks, to embrace vulnerability, and to pursue the things that really matter. These individuals use regret as a tool for transformation. They let it motivate them to be more intentional with their decisions, to value the present moment, and to make the most of the opportunities they still have. For them, regret becomes a powerful teacher that shapes the way they move forward, guiding them to live more authentically and with greater purpose.